Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Walmsley, and I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a growing global community of over 185,000 now across our 8 arts and culture LinkedIn groups. I don't get to meet everyone, as you can imagine, but when I do, it's a real pleasure, and that's absolutely the case today. I'm joined by Nakisha, also known as N, and Nakisha has joined us as a full member recently, for which huge thanks, because as a community, a global community, we're entirely member funded at the moment. So it's very much appreciated. Nakisha, thank you so much for becoming a full member and for joining me today for this chat.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to be a full member. It really appealed to me, and I can't wait to tell more people about it actually, because I think it's good.
That's very kind. Now, I know you're a very family-oriented person, and there is a chance that the family might appear in this video. So that's how we roll. It doesn't matter. I've got 2 dogs here, 2
Okay.
grandchildren over there, potentially going to knock on the door. So we'll just go with it, which is
All
fine.
right.
Now we're going to have some fun today. I'm going to create your fantasy cultural year based on the work you do. I have a
Okay.
magic wand and I have a time machine at my disposal for this
Oh,
interview.
wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And we'll do that in a moment. But before I do, perhaps you'd be kind enough to introduce yourself for the benefit of those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you as I have already, because I know you came to our events and that's very much appreciated. So would you like to give everyone the Nakisha story?
Yeah, okay. I'll try and condense it down. It's quite long. But so, yeah, my name is Nakisha, and I am known as N, which is a stage name. I am a multidisciplinary artist, but even that has grown into being a multidisciplinary or I don't know what the word is, someone that's just doing a lot. So I have um, children as well, and I'm trying to juggle everything at the same time. It's not really a juggling, it's more working out of a way of life. It's a life philosophy. It's very different. And trying to find time is not really how it works. I don't try to find time. The time is there. It's how I decorate it. So I decorate it with my children, with my art, with my music, with all the projects I'm doing it with an organization I've created called Grounded. And so that organization is a mentorship and fellowship for 11 to 25-year-olds, whether they are interested in art, music, drama, whatever, really. It's to connect them to arts and culture industry. And also for 25 plus, we have a mentorship program and workshops, and everybody gets opportunities to exhibit their work and to grow together. So that's something I'm currently building. And yeah, I have several projects going on at the same time. So
That's
that's kind of what I'm
fantastic.
doing. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. And you've given me inspiration for your fantasy cultural year.
Oh
So
yeah.
here we go. Wherever this appears, there'll be links to you and information about you so that others can find out more about the work that you do. I think I've got the word. You know, you said we need a new word.
Yes.
I think you're a multi-math.
Oh, okay.
So it's a multiple polymath,
Oh. Oh yeah.
multidisciplinary polymath. You're a multi-math.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no. Multi-mathing right now.
Yes, you are, aren't you just? Wonderful. I appreciate it. Um, she's very welcome.
Okay.
Four
Do you
daughters,
hear
I
that?
remember. I think 4 daughters.
Yeah.
Wow. You are such an admirable character because you know what you've got. You've got so much going on, right? In every area of your life, but you come over as though you're walking on casters. You really do. And
Wow.
it's so refreshing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll crack on and your daughter can be star of the show as well. Excellent.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry. The other one's walked in. You need to
Yeah.
get her. Get her. Yeah. All right. And the
Oh, this
dog's
is
gone as well. Hi, Jojo. And she's gone. All right, they're all gone. All
love
right.
it. I love it. This is real life, Nakisha.
It's true. It's
This is
true.
real
It is.
life. You know,
Yeah.
we get so much put in front of us that is polished. Okay. This is you are polished enough.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, you've given me some inspiration now for your fantasy cultural year that I'm going to
Yeah.
create for you.
Okay.
It's based on global grounded. We're going to call it global grounded.
Okay.
Okay. Or
Yeah.
grounded global trips off the tongue a little better.
Yeah.
That's the plan. And you're going to be working with 11 to 25-year-olds all over the world.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, to set this up, I need to place you somewhere in the world, and it can be anywhere you like. And I'm going to do that by asking you, what's your favorite building?
My favorite building. Ooh, this is hard because I've actually traveled quite a bit and seen some incredible sights. So if I was to answer small, I'd say my art studio
You can
because
do
it is
that.
my favorite place because everything happens there. So actually, yeah, my art studio, but can it be in any nation, any other nation?
Yeah, you can place it anywhere in the world. I've got a magic wand and a time machine.
You know where? I think Indonesia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Jakarta, or in the
yeah,
countryside?
yeah. In the oh, that's difficult actually because the countryside is stunning. But let's go
In the
Jakarta because it's more
Jakarta, the
connected.
beating heart of Indonesia.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, that's great. Now, um, your art studio has been transported to Jakarta, and you're in the middle of the city. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful day. It's 6 p.m. The sun is shining. You've got friends and family around you, and you're sitting at a cafe enjoying the view of and people watching. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a drink next to you.
yeah.
What would I find there?
Sparkling water.
Sparkling water. Okay. And there's a book on the table next to you. What would I
Oh,
find there?
oh, now. Come on. What would you find? I've literally just had a look at some new books I'd like to buy to help because I don't have formal visual arts training. So I was looking up books that would be good for me to read to sharpen what I'm doing a little bit in that area. So probably one of those, and I can't remember any of the titles of those, but there's all like stuff that you would have read at university level, I think. And you'd
I
also
think
find a Bible as well.
a Bible. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can have the Bible. It's a bit like Desert Island Discs now, isn't it? Um, um, there is a book that my wife is a crafty, I call her my crafty wife. She read The Artist's Way, I think it is,
Okay, I've heard of that
which
book.
was
I haven't
really
read that
good.
one.
Yeah. So we'll have that. Now there are headphones in and you're enjoying some music. What's playing?
Jesse Norman.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I love that. That is just good. So we're in Jakarta with your artist studio, a
Uh-huh.
glass of sparkling water, and
Yeah.
The Artist's Way and Jesse Norman. Wow. There is a
Yeah.
funny story about Jesse Norman that I know.
Okay.
My background is in classical music, and I worked with her once.
Oh wow.
And I was in the percussion section of an orchestra, and she was the guest star. Um, she was in a limousine in New York, apparently, and she was feeling a bit hot and she wanted the air conditioning turned up.
Okay.
So she rang her agent, um, and the agent rang the manager, and the manager rang the tour manager, and the tour manager rang the car company, and the car company rang the driver to turn the air conditioning up.
Oh my gosh. Oh my.
Diva, diva,
Wow.
absolute diva.
Yeah. Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. Now we could finish there because that summed you up in four choices, right? But we're not
Oh,
going to do that because I'd like to take it a bit further. Now you've come from, you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've come from a meeting with a wealthy Indonesian family foundation. Okay. And they would like, they've got, they've heard about Grounded, and
yeah.
they would like to fund, they'd like to hire you for a year.
Oh, okay.
Okay, with to establish Grounded Global,
Okay.
which is a series of centers around the world that work with 11 to 25-year-olds, um,
Yeah.
and help introduce them to the value of being engaged in creative activities and the arts and the cultural and heritage.
Yeah.
They recognize that you are a mother of four, and with commitments. So
Yeah.
they're hiring a team of nannies, okay,
Yes.
excuse me, who are going to travel with you, okay, and
Okay.
take some of the load off. Your The family can come and visit you whenever they want to during the course of this year. But they would like you to set up this a grounded global initiative. A film crew, a TV crew is going to follow you because they want to make a TV series out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, the fee is enormous, right?
Oh, brilliant.
Um, it's first class all the way.
Hmm.
You get to do a TED talk when you get back.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, there's a book deal, and also once you're back, you get to do a global university lecture tour.
Okay.
Okay, you're on morning TV.
Oh,
You're
goodness.
the go-to person for getting young people into the arts.
Perfect.
Does that sound like fun?
I'm already there. Sign me up. Like,
So all you have to do is decide where you want to start. So we're going from Jakarta. Where are we going next?
okay, to another country, do you mean? Or
Yeah, anywhere in the world.
I really feel to say India.
Oh, nice.
India
Where would you
next.
like to go in India?
Well, I've been to Bangalore and I've been to Mysore, where they already have quite a good educational network in Mysore.
Hmm.
So I'd probably start with where I knew, which is Bangalore or Mysore. Bangalore, probably.
Bangalore.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you turned left on the plane because you're traveling first class.
Oh,
Okay.
brilliant.
And the steward brings you a glass of sparkling water and a
Yeah.
note from the Family Foundation back in Jakarta.
Okay.
They have a musical challenge for you.
Oh,
They want you to limit your musical listening to one very specific genre or type of music or artist or band for 12 months, to the exclusion of all else.
seeing as it's for 12 months and the things that I am working on at the moment, it would have to be classical.
Ooh, okay. It's a good
Yeah.
choice. Nice
Yeah.
and broad.
Yes. But
Very good choice.
specifically, if you want to go specifics, it would be opera and choral works.
Oh, have you seen the film about the Dream of Gerontius yet?
I have not seen that film yet. I'm so desperate to see it.
I paid for it recently and it's wonderful. I'm going to watch it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've played that many times. I played that in Windsor Castle, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But see,
But
this
yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I'm well, obviously my faith, but one of the reasons why I'm heavy would want a Bible with me is because that's where I draw my inspirations from. And obviously, like Gerontius is taken from Psalm 92 or not Psalm 90.
Hmm.
And Great is the Lord is Psalm 48, which is one that I've been looking up recently because of the project I'm working on. I
Hmm.
think that I'm going to take the lead there from Edward Elgar into Psalm 48, Great is the Lord, and kind of bring that into the piece that I'm working on. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, do.
yeah,
That highlight in that piece, and I love it. Praise to the holiest in the high. That's the sort of, for me, that's the peak of the whole piece.
yeah.
And they do a great job on that movie.
Oh, wow.
The diction in the amateur choir is incredible.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great choice. So you're listening to classical, but specifically opera and choral music. Love that.
Yes.
Now you arrive in, forgive me, where were we going to? Bangalore. You arrive in Bangalore,
Yeah.
and a group of young 11 to 25-year-old arts and culture uh, students meet you, and they whisk you into a beautiful loft apartment overlooking the city.
Oh,
And they
wow.
say to you, we're going to come settle in. get unpacked and relaxed. We're going to come back. We're going to take you to a dance performance, and then we're going to take you out to dinner. Now, this is where the magic wand and the time machine come in, because you don't have to stay in Indian culture. You don't have to stay in current time. You can move in time, and I can put any dance performance you like on a stage in front of you. It could be any dancer, living or not, any group, any style.
Oh, I know who.
To watch?
I would like to watch Josephine Baker.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, Josephine Baker. Wonderful. Love that. And what about dinner afterwards? You get, Bangalore has got cuisine from all over the world. You don't have to stay in Indian culture. If you could choose the restaurant, what would you choose? What
I would choose Indian food. Oh my gosh, it is delicious.
Yeah. We have so many dishes, don't we, in the UK that are not Indian.
Yeah.
Chicken tikka masala. There's no chicken tikka masala in Bangalore.
No.
Excellent. Now we're going to buzz again. Where are we going next? Anywhere in the world.
Okay, I'm sticking to that side. I'm going to go to Japan.
Nice. Do you want to go to Tokyo?
I do want to go to Tokyo.
I've been there. Tokyo is like the same size as the M25.
Oh my gosh.
It's incredible because they can't be terribly high buildings. They've just gone that way. Yeah. If you picked up Tokyo and put it on the M25, it would cover it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Excellent. Now we're in Tokyo. Now it's sport day in Japan. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
We had breakdancing in the Olympics in 24. We have dressage, to music, we have ice dancing, synchronized swimming. Some sports are clearly performance art.
Yes.
What sport would you like to watch for a couple of hours? You can have anything you like. Or you can take part if you wish.
Oh, take part? I don't think so. Gymnastics.
Gymnastics. So you're sitting in that kind of Olympic stadium and all these gymnastics events are happening in front of you. Love that.
Yeah, because I would like to see the ballet at this point, but because I'm in a sports arena, gymnastics is the closest I can get to that type of fluid body movements.
Yeah.
Right. So gymnastics. Plus, it's also really good. I love gymnastics. Not that I would do it myself.
I can hardly touch my toes anymore. So that was me. Yeah. But yeah, the floor exercises are all done to music, aren't they? So good point. Right, let's buzz again. This is a whistle-stop tour. Where are we going next?
Nigeria. Yeah.
Fantastic. Abuja.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I've got friends there.
Good. Now in Abuja, there is a new art gallery.
Yes.
It's digital.
Awesome.
Okay. You can put on a virtual reality headset and step into the work of a famous artist. It's not a projection. You're in the picture. Okay. But you can see in 3 dimensions what the artist could only show us 2.
Okay.
It's 360 degrees, 3-dimensional. There's movement and sound. Which famous artist's work would you like to step into in that way?
This is a really hard one. All right. This is a really hard one because there's so many artists who's like, I would want to step into their work because of the story that it tells, or the story of the times, what was happening at the time when they painted it. And something about stepping into their work would reveal that to me. So I had an experience with Van Gogh's work, but I never went to where you could actually step inside his book, because they had a installation like that in London, didn't they?
They did. What I've just described is not yet possible.
It's not yet possible, no. But they had something similar. But I did have an experience with Van Gogh's work, where it was to do with the sky that he painted the Starry Night, the sky.
Yeah.
And the position of the stars at the time that he painted, what he could see from his viewpoint, what stars were in the sky. And obviously it's Venus that's in the sky when he paints that. And then you go back and you have a look at the alignment of the planets at that time and see what was going on, the meaning of it's quite profound actually. When I looked into that, it was quite profound looking at what was going on when he painted it, what he was seeing. And he was somebody that in his time was painting in a way that nobody could really appreciate, but he was a forerunner. It was a future thinking. And I kind of see myself as a bit of a visionary like that. And that's the whole point of the alignment in the sky, as well as like pointing towards a future time. So I just thought it was like that specific thing, by being able to have an experience of his painting would give us a snippet into the future that he was seeing into, if that makes sense.
I love that. Van Gogh it is. I love it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to whisk you back to London, right?
Okay.
And you and I are going out together every night of the week to do something cultural.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On Monday, we're going back in time to a concert.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
Tuesday we're going to the theatre.
Okay.
For a theatre play. Wednesday is a West End or Broadway musical.
Okay.
Thursday is opera or ballet.
Oh, okay.
And Friday is movie night at the IMAX.
Okay.
Okay. Between us, we can decide what we're going to see.
Okay.
So is there a concert that you would love to go back in time and
Jimi
experience
Hendrix
again? Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
That's
as soon as you
great.
said it, I was like, I know exactly where I'm going to be. And it is a Jimi Hendrix concert.
Fantastic. Woodstock.
Yeah.
We could go back to Woodstock. He played Woodstock, didn't he?
Yeah, we could.
Love that. What about a theatre play? We're in London, so we've got Shakespeare's Globe, if you wish. But is there a theatre play?
Ooh. A Shakespeare one?
Yeah, go for a Shakespeare one.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What about a West End or Broadway musical?
I've seen a few musicals, but I'm not really a musicals type person.
Have you seen Hamilton?
No.
Have
so you're going to take me to see Hamilton?
I'm going to take you to see Hamilton.
Yeah.
There's a full performance of that on YouTube. It's really good.
Oh, wow.
And it's Lin-Manuel Miranda who wrote Hamilton. He did all the music for Moana, which your girls probably know.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a genius thing. It's where history meets rap.
Oh, wow.
It's a great...
that does sound good. Okay.
Yeah. What about opera or ballet? Which of the two would you go for?
So when I was working in London, I made friends with a ballerina whose mother was an opera singer, and I also do a bit of opera. So I love going to the opera, but she introduced me to ballet. So this is the first time I ever went to go and see ballet. And I can't remember the name of the one she took me to see. It was a very new piece of work as well, very contemporary. And that was amazing. So I'd probably like to see... I'm still going to say opera. After thinking about it, I was like, no, there's something about when I hear the orchestra warming up and, stretching as you will, getting everything in tune.
Yeah.
And just the beginning of, I love that. That's one of my favorite.
Well, the thing is, you can have dance in opera, but you can't have opera in dance.
Exactly.
So opera is often considered the pinnacle of art forms because it's got art in the scenery.
Yeah.
It's got music in the pit from a symphony orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
It's got singing.
Yeah.
It's got dancing. It's got acting.
Yes.
It's all in there.
Everything is in there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Great choice. Now we're nearly there. Now it's film night.
Okay.
I'd like you to choose a film that you think I'd enjoy, that you love.
Oh. There's so many, but I'm going to pick my favorite film of all time, which is Fifth Element. I know that's
that movie.
You love that movie too?
Multipass.
Yes. So do you know that movie, the kind of mood board for that movie was another movie? I think it was a French, there's another movie that's a French film. And so even Lilu's outfits, the fact that she had orange hair, was based on, I don't know if it was a French film or it must have, it's a European
Who
film.
directed? Was it Luc Besson?
Yeah, he directed Fifth Element, yes.
Yeah.
But you
So it
could
makes
see
sense
where
that
he
it would be
took
inspired by
inspiration.
another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he took inspiration from another film, and I've seen that film. I cannot remember what it's called for the life of me, because I had another friend who was like a massive fan. Then he found out that he found that film independently, but it was so much like Fifth Element in terms of aesthetic, not the storyboard, right? The girl who played the main character looked like Lilu, was dressed like her, and it's obvious that's where he took inspiration for how he was, the aesthetics of that film. But
It's a
that's the film.
great film.
Yeah,
Really is. I love it. I can watch that again and again.
same.
There we go. Multipass.
I'll tell you this as well. The diva, the Blue Angel, right?
Yeah.
She's the diva that's coming to sing. I watched that when I was small, quite small. And as soon as she opens her voice to sing that aria, I was like, whoa. I was sold. I was like, yes, take my money, opera. This is where I first fell in love with opera. So she starts to sing the aria, and then it goes into this kind of mechanical, industrial 80s, like hip hop vibe, this fusion.
Yeah. It's like a modern version of Queen of the Night, isn't it? Yeah. There's a video on YouTube, I don't know if you've seen it, of a singer performing that live.
Oh,
and it's incredible.
Oh, see, I've been training myself. I have been in training for this. I'm waiting for my moment to be able to do it. But I've tried to also, that idea of that fusion is something that I've carried throughout all my work as well. And even to the project I'm working on now, which is called Elgar Reimagined, right? And I've formed an orchestra called the Reimagined Orchestra. So what that does is it creates a platform. It's not just Elgar's music that we can reimagine, but then it opens the doors to other composers as well. But with this particular project, we've got professional musicians alongside amateur musicians with classical traditions alongside more contemporary. And it's all coming together in this one thing. Yeah. So
wow.
this idea of fusion has like followed me around in my work, and you'll see it everywhere.
Oh, I love the fact that you're probing something that's so British in its kind of heritage lockdown, Elgar, basically. I love that you're doing that. That's fantastic. I can't wait to see more of that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we've done Fifth Element. I love that. Now we're nearly done. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this. You've been a great sport. But before I send you off to do this wonderful year of work and travel and become the go-to person for introducing young people to the arts and culture world, using those hybrids of art forms and that we've talked about all over the world, before you go off and finish that work, I'm going to give you what I call the hero lunch. You can invite one person to have lunch with in London. It can be anyone you like, living or not, famous or otherwise, fictional or otherwise.
Okay.
Who are you going to have a leisurely 2-hour lunch with? They will come.
Oh, this is very difficult. This is just one. It's a fight between Edward Elgar himself and Jesse Norman right now.
I'm going to, because you've done such a great job at surprising me and delighting me on this interview, I'm going to let you have them both.
Yay!
By the way, you probably won't get a word in edgeways.
Probably not, no.
There you go.
But I'll be there with my eyes big and bright, just like, wow.
Now, given your expertise and fascination for Elgar, I've got a slight twist to this question.
Okay.
And it applies to both Edward Elgar and Jesse Norman. Okay.
Okay.
If they were asked the same question, who do you think they would invite to lunch?
Oh.
Who would Edward Elgar have lunch with?
He would have lunch probably with Jesus. because
Mm,
he was a Catholic
mm,
that was very strong. When you listen to his music and you read the scriptures, and you know the grandioseness of his music and the times that he was writing in, he drew inspiration directly from the scripture to do that. And so it shows that the word of God really had an impact on Elgar.
mm.
And so I think that he wouldn't want to be anywhere else apart from at the table of the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Jesse Norman?
Oh, ooh. Well, she also was somebody that was very much connected to her own cultures and backgrounds. She sang spirituals alongside singing arias and things. And when
Mm,
she sang those spirituals, she sang them with the same energy that she sings her opera. So she
mm,
took it just as seriously, in fact, as a cultural artistry. She took it seriously. She wasn't. So I think that she would also want to honor something like that, like Elgar would honor where he took his inspiration from. I think she'd also do it too, because ultimately, because like I said, I share that faith. I'm from that faith as well, so I'm a Christian. So I think that our biggest inspirations, being a Christian, somebody that's walking in faith, we draw inspiration for everyday life from the scripture. So it would make sense that we would all sat at the table with him.
so Jesse would choose the same.
Well, I'm hoping so.
Excellent.
I'd
Yeah.
like to think that she would want to explore where her gifts actually came from.
Yeah, I
That's what
wonder
I saw.
whether she'd choose Paul Robeson even. Never know
Well, you
because of
never
that
know.
vibe.
Yeah.
Um, Nakisha, thank you so much. This has been a delight. I hope you've enjoyed your fantasy cultural year. It's
What do you mean
always
fantasy? I thought this is what we would do. I thought.
yeah, I'm going to give you the details for the travel agent, and they're going to book
Yes,
you on
please.
this. Right.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being one of our full members. Wherever this appears, there'll be lots of information and links to you and the work that you do. And it's been a real pleasure. These are never, I've done over 300 of these now. They're never the same. And it's been a real eye opener. And you know, I, I am in constant search for the enigma from the enigma variations. I've played it
Yeah.
several times with the orchestra, the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it frustrates me that we don't know what that counterpoint melody is that he said that theme is based on. If you
Yeah.
ever find out, please tell me
I'll
first.
let you know. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Nakisha, thank you. Don't rush off, but for the time being, thank you so much for joining me to do this today.
Thank you for having me, Mark. It's been a pleasure.